say it to your face, but it doesn't mean a thing. No!
Jessy Lanza is an acclaimed and alluring electronic pop songwriter based in Hamilton, Ontario. Along with her frequent collaborator Jeremy Greenspan of Junior Boys, Lanza has released two stunning records, 2013's Pull My Hair Back and 2016's Oh No, which were both shortlisted for Canada's prestigious Polaris Music Prize and are each available via the Hyperdub label. Lanza was in Guelph for the underground arts and music extravaganza known as Kazoo Fest recently, and we caught up in a reverb-rich church basement to discuss things like studying jazz, Jill Scott and Patrice Rushen, stress and anxiety, European spas and Canada's place in the world, Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, and much more. Sponsored by Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee, this is the 328th episode of Creative Control with your host, me, Vish Khanna. Hi, Jessy. How are you?
Really good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. It's nice to have you in Guelph.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
I can't remember the last time you were here. You did a show on your own or something? At the E-Bar, maybe?
I opened for Junior Boys.
At the E-Bar?
Yeah, that was last February, I think.
Right. How was that?
It was good. It feels like a really long time ago, even though it was only...
Not this past February.
Sorry, the February, 2016.
Yeah, okay. So you haven't been here in a while.
I haven't been here in a while.
Is this like a destination that you played? Like, was that your first time playing Guelph?
No, it wasn't. I played in Guelph with another band years ago.
You had another band?
Yeah, well, it wasn't my band, but it was like a jazz fusion. We really wanted... I was listening to a lot of Jill Scott at the time.
Oh, okay.
And in jazz school, so maybe you could put those together.
Yeah, I can
imagine what it sounded like.
What's the name of the band?
Flat Street.
Flat Street. I don't remember Flat Street.
Yeah. Well, we played in Guelph.
Sorry, I don't mean to offend you by saying I don't remember.
I don't, we weren't making huge waves.
Were you road warriors or did you play a lot of shows?
No,
okay.
I went away to university actually when the touring picked up for Flat Street a little bit, so I missed out on that part.
Okay. Jazz school, did you say?
Jazz school.
You went to jazz school?
I studied jazz piano.
Where?
At Concordia.
Concordia?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So that's your that's your base is jazz piano.
Yeah, but I wasn't ever really that great at it. I practiced a lot and I tried, but I don't know. I don't ever think I was completely into it. I just really wanted to do music, and the only way to legitimize it seemed to be to go to school for music.
For something. For something,
yeah. And I really wanted to do music, so it took me a few years to figure out that I don't have to do anything really, but I thought that I did.
What does that mean? You don't have to do anything?
I mean...
Oh, you mean you don't have to get a degree?
Yeah, I don't have to impress anybody if I don't want to, but it certainly felt that way at the time.
Music can be a weird thing when you're younger. It seems magical and mystical, right? It doesn't seem like something a normal person can even come close to doing.
No, it's so weird to remember what the idea of touring to me when I was a teenager just seemed like this crazy thing. How do people do it, and how does it happen? And it just seemed like such an awesome thing to do. And yeah, I try to remember that anytime I feel crappy about being away from home or whatever, because I was totally, like you said, just mystified.
Right. No, it's natural for everyone to, until you actually start to do something, that's when you demystify it, and then the people you admire, say Jill Scott, become more human because you're oh, they're probably just doing this. And I can kind of do that, sort of, if I apply myself.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you're just being modest when you say you weren't very good at jazz piano. They don't let anyone into university programs for that.
No, I had to audition, and Yeah, I think, I mean, like, I was fine. I just, like, wasn't some sort of, like, wizard or something. It didn't, yeah, it was just, like, difficult for me, and I don't think my heart was completely in it, you know? I wanted to, like, write my own songs and not write, like, jazz songs, you
Was
know?
it the parameters of the schooling? Like, were you generally a good student? Like, before you
Yeah, yeah, I was. I mean,
you liked school?
yeah, I mean, it was fine. I don't know.
Some people, I didn't really like it until, like, I hit my stride. Like, in grade 9, I was good. And then the rest of the grades, I didn't do very much. Like, I did okay, but no, I don't even think I did that well.
Right.
And then in OAC, when they were like, hey, if you want to go to school after high school, you got to have good grades.
So pick it up a little bit.
That's when I started winning all the silly English awards or whatever. And then
Right.
I got into school, and then I did fine. But I just, like, you're not a slacker. Are you a slacker? Are you a slacker, Jessy?
No, I'm not. I'm like the opposite. I'm like a total, like, try hard, like, yeah, like, want to make everybody happy.
That's your deal.
When I was that age, for sure, I think, like, it's taken a long time for me to, like, I think, like, because I did jazz piano and I, like, finished that as my undergrad, and then I started going to McGill for jazz history,
Oh,
which I dropped out of really quickly. I think it was at that point where I realized, like, why am I doing this? And, like, I don't really want to be doing this. I think I'm doing it more to, like, tell people that I'm doing it. And I was like, who am I trying to impress?
jazz
by-
history would not be a practical place to practice your jazz piano. You were learning about jazz.
Yeah. And, like, just, yeah, history, basically.
Did you foresee yourself as being some kind of academic?
Yeah, I did at one point, but that all ended pretty swiftly once those courses began. Yeah, I wasn't completely in it.
Jazz history is interesting, though. You have to admit.
Totally.
It's totally fascinating. I mean,
yeah.
I took jazz history classes like as electives. I wasn't in music, but
Yeah, it's like the history of, like, pop music.
It is.
basically.
Yeah.
So, and of, like, dance and, yeah, just basically, like, pop culture as we know it. So it was totally, like, not that it was boring. I don't think you need, like, another half-assed academic. Like, I don't know. You really, like, need to be, like, nobody's forcing you to, like, study jazz
Sure.
music. So
sure.
yeah.
So did you? I'm trying to pinpoint if you were disinterested, but it wasn't because you didn't think it was practical.
No, I just wanted to, like, I wanted to make music too.
You wanted to play.
And, yeah, and there just wasn't any time to do that.
So you went from piano to what? What was your next exploration?
Well, I dropped out, and then I continued to live in Montreal for a little while, but that wasn't really working because I didn't have a job, and so I ended up moving back in with my mom, who you met.
Judy?
Judy.
Judy, yeah.
Yeah.
I met her once. I think I met her once before.
This will be your second time meeting Judy.
It's just I like to keep track of things. That's why I mentioned that. No, I met her at the Polaris Music Prize Gala.
Oh, it's nice. It's nice you even remember.
I remember most things.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. It's actually a curse. I wish I could forget, but I remember most things and they don't leave my brain. Anyway, Judy
Yeah.
seems nice, and
She's super nice.
Yeah.
She's so nice that she let me move back into her house.
no pressure from you didn't have pressure from your mom about your life course at that point.
No, that's the funny thing, because, yeah, like I said before, I put a lot of pressure on myself to, like, meet these expectations of, like, yeah, I got to go to school and, yeah, do all this stuff. And it took me a long time to realize I just really wanted to make music, and that was fine. If I didn't have to go to school to legitimize that. But anyways, I moved back in with my mom. I didn't have any money, and I still wanted to write music and be creative. And that's when I started hanging out with Jeremy Greenspan, and he was like, well, you have a laptop, like, just let me give you this copy of Logic. And then I started to teach myself through YouTube tutorials, and yeah, it just basically came out of, like, me not having any other options, because, like, prior to, like, doing music on my computer, I had, like, gone into studios around Hamilton to record music, like, in the more, like, traditional way or whatever, but I had no money to do that anymore.
Jazz music?
Like, kind of more singer-songwriter
Yeah.
style with, like, a jazz twinge to it.
Right.
like Nora Jones
Sure.
or something, you know.
That was someone you kind of aspired to
Hell
at the time?
no.
It
But
just-
like,
there was-
that's if I could compare
I see.
something.
Not quite jazz, sort of jazz.
Oh, just wishy-washy crap.
Right.
Yeah. No, just like
Still eager to please at that point. You thought you had to please people in a certain way.
Yeah. It's really. I don't know if you have. If you look back on yourself and like you're like, who is this like invisible person that I was trying to like please? It's weird.
Look back on yourself. I do that all the time.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'm like
That's
saying,
why
like,
I'm now. I'm like a wishy-washy podcast music interviewer guy. You know, just
That's not wishy-washy. I mean, that's pretty definitive.
it's a thing that I do. Yeah, no. But anyway, that's fascinating to me that your mom was letting you just find your way.
Yeah, she's so supportive. Yeah.
And Logic, by the way, just so people would understand, this is like a multi-track recording. Well, what is Logic exactly?
Yeah,
it's a program.
it's like Apple's Pro Tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a multi-track recording software thing.
Exactly.
And he just said,
It's a DAW. Yeah.
yeah, he said, here you go.
Yeah. He's like, I have an extra user copy, so yeah, why don't you just start messing around with it? And then yeah, it was at that time we started working on music, and yeah, from there like the music came together for the first album in 2013. But yeah,
That's the first expression, like that's the first blast of the
no, I mean like we did like a lot of
okay.
stuff that was never released, and like it took us like a couple of years to like find our stride, but that was when it began.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving
And-
back to Hamilton.
And how would you characterize that music? I mean, we've talked about jazz a little bit. I'm always careful trying to describe music made within your realm because I don't quite, even with Jeremy, you know, Jeremy was on the show when the most recent Junior Boys record came out, and we were talking about stuff, and I try to be a bit careful
Okay.
because it's a realm that I totally understand, I think, and then I think there's aspects that I don't. This electronic, it's pop music, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ultimately,
Absolutely.
yeah. But there's this electronic aspect to it that people find a little enigmatic.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping you can illuminate that. What was it about those sounds coming from your background? It's very fascinating to me, which I didn't know. I didn't know you had all this other stuff,
All this like
academic and
yeah.
jazz stuff. How did it lead you to? I mean, Jeremy, I understand. Was it Jeremy's influence that maybe?
I mean, it was certainly like he really was like a mentor for me at the time, for sure. Also, like my dad was a musician, and he had all this analog gear just really kicking around the house, and so yeah, it was just like using the things that were like around me. And like my mom said, like, you're here, I don't want this stuff in the house anymore, like if you're not going to use it, then I'm going to sell it.
Oh.
And so
What kind of stuff was it?
so there was like a DX7 and Polymoog, which is like a really nice synthesizer from like 1979 that like is really like top of the line. I don't know why my dad bought all this. Like him and my mom had a band, but like my mom had no interest, and like the Polymoog's pretty complicated.
Huh.
And my mom was like, I just not have any interest in learning how to program.
Your mom
it.
plays music too?
My mom, yeah, both my parents. And my mom is a musician still, and yeah. So sorry, I forgot what.
I was trying to figure out how, we were talking about how you arrived at making the music you made with Jeremy, and you said a lot of it was inspired by the fact that your mom and your dad's gear was just kicking around, and you started fooling around with it.
Yeah, playing those same chords, like those jazz progressions, like really simple or like sometimes more complicated chords, they always sounded like a little wanky on the piano,
Yeah.
but if you put them on the DX7, suddenly they sound a lot, I don't want to say interesting, they just sound like better.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure.
Yeah, I like used to sit down at the piano and write songs, and I don't know, I just needed another way to like be creative.
Right.
Yeah.
And all these machines, if we can call them machines, they gave you a whole new platform, new outlet on
Yeah.
some level of sonic texture and all that stuff.
Totally, and it's like so freeing to like not know what you're doing with something and just mess around and not, because I'd been playing piano for such a long time and I just had so many different like teachers and a whole like method to like how I practiced, and like it really sucked the fun out of it for me. So it was more fun for me to like experiment with like a drum machine or like learn how to use MIDI and, you know, all that stuff.
When they were on the show, and I've heard them talk about this in other interviews, but Bad Not Good talked about how they were in a jazz program as well.
Yeah.
And they ended up really resisting the curriculum because in terms of playing, they just wanted to do their own thing. I mean, at the time, their own thing was, let's play hip hop music or hip hop producers' beats, and let's just make them into jazz. It sounds like you had kind of a similar thing where, because I think their work is still rooted in the freedom and rebelliousness of jazz. Sounds like yours was too. Like you say you came from that background. Something about the academia stifled you. Yet, when you started messing with all the gear, you were applying sort of, like you say, jazz chords to these new things that were new to you.
Yeah.
And then this opened you up. Like this was actually more freeing.
Yeah.
So there's something I think about the orthodoxy of jazz that musicians like yourself seem to find stifling, but at the same time, you can call back upon it to free yourself. I'm writing a poem right now. I don't mean to be.
A lot of freeing. I said freeing a lot.
Yeah,
too.
you did too.
Being free.
Well, it's part of free music and experiment, whatever, improvised music. Because you were talking about, I think you were hinting at improvisation there, this notion of just messing around.
Yeah.
Which that aspect of what we know as jazz now is the most inspiring thing. Like if you can see someone just, particularly when you see performers just in the moment working together chemically and creating stuff, it's just like, wow. And if it's the right configuration, it can be mind-blowing. Anyway, do you feel like you still draw upon jazz in your work? Or at least the tenets of jazz?
I mean, yeah, not consciously, I don't think. But I mean, all the music that I really love, like in a roundabout way, was like, because I started studying like traditional jazz in school, and then like, you know, I got really into neo soul music, like I mentioned, like Jill Scott, and like I loved Erykah Badu when I was a teenager, and like she would always talk about Shaka Khan, and then I started listening to Shaka Khan and like got really into funk music, and like I think that funk music and like really poppy funk is like, I think one of the biggest influences for me, at least, in the music that Jeremy and I make now.
But very, very strong female vocalists too.
You mean the
ones
Shaka Khan?
You mentioned all of them, like Erykah, Jill, Shaka Khan.
Yeah, it's funny because I have never had like one of those powerhouse voices. So like, yeah, but then I discovered other people like Patrice Rushen. Like, she has a really soft voice, but she's like can still really kind of like be commanding in her own way. So she was a huge inspiration for me too. And she was like a Quincy Jones protege, you know, and she's like a multi-instrumentalist, like total jazz school lady. And yeah, so it's, I think that jazz, like we were talking about before, like going to school and learning the fundamentals of like what is pop music. I mean, like jazz music really is in everything, and it's so much in the music that is a huge inspiration for me. Like not directly, you know, I'm like not listening.
It's within you though.
Yeah, I'm not listening to like the Red Garland albums.
No. No.
But you know, from that came R&B and came funk. You know, it's like it's all connected. So yeah, I mean, I could say bad things about going to school for jazz, but ultimately I think it was, you know, a really great decision.
Well, you mentioned jazz piano. When did you find your voice as a singer? And like we've been talking in a roundabout way about your own singing and as it relates to the people that inspired you. And you mentioned that you are self-aware or I don't think you sounded self-conscious, but you certainly sounded self-aware about the fact that you have a softer voice, not a powerhouse voice. So you seem conscious of your delivery and your vocal. when did you kind of find your voice as a singer throughout all of this, through this trajectory that we're trying to
Yeah.
outline? I'm just trying to get a sense of that.
I mean, I sang like in talent shows when I was a kid, but I always felt self-conscious of like the reality that I wasn't like a belter, you know? It's like
Did you try?
totally, and I
Yeah.
really sucked at it. But it wasn't even like I thought of it as being a fault, and I really had to grow into the reality that like even realizing that the kind of voices I like aren't necessarily like big and powerful, but like unique and special. And I don't know, I think I could like make a kind of like gendered argument that like, I don't know, when you're a young girl and I like Disney was a big part of my life, you know, it's just like, I want to sound like
Ariel?
yeah, Ariel or like Princess Jasmine or
Sure.
you know, it's so stupid to like think about it now, but that was like really real for me when I was like
Those
7.
things are super powerful.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, now we talk about just how damaging some of those things can be for kids. My daughter is 2 and she's obsessed with my parents got her this box set of Princess Disney books. They're all, I'm very uncomfortable with it. It's also chintzy too. Like they don't do the whole story as like a 6-page book, and it's just like everything happens. Like, you know, they'll just tell like the story of Aladdin or
And
The
like-
Little Mermaid in like 6 pages, and I'm
They're
like,
just
this-
whipping through it.
yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't like it, and then, but she's super into it, and she calls them her princess books, and I'm starting to feel self-conscious about whether that's a good thing. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have something to balance it out, but at the same, you can't force your kid to be interested in something that they
No.
don't. Yeah, so that's tricky.
But that was an influence on you.
I know. Yeah.
Those voices, like those Disney musicals.
I think it was just a perfect storm of like, but it's like a common storm of overachievers wanting to be perfect.
You were an overachiever.
Totally, yeah. Like a people pleaser, you know, and then
Yeah.
like the pop culture things that you consume as a little kid are also about like perfect voices
Yep.
and, you know, so it just all came together in this way to like, make me feel like I had to live up to this kind of perfect voice, which was like never going to happen. And thankfully I like grew out of that, but it's like pretty advanced age before I realized that like, it's not an advantage to sound like Ariel from The Little Mermaid all the time,
Right.
you know?
Right. And you have to find your own voice within all of that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Did that work ethic, if you will, did that give you anxiety? Did that stress you out to be an overachieving perfectionist?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've always been stressed.
Has it subsided?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, the reality of like death is, you know, of stress is like killing you helps me to try and like maybe relax a little bit.
How did that enter the picture, that reality?
I just started thinking about it more.
Oh, okay. You started thinking about your way of dealing with stress and trying to ease your stress was to contemplate death.
Well, no, I mean like just realizing that like, I mean, I don't want to start getting into like some really heavy stuff, but like my dad passed away at a it happened so long ago, but when he was quite young. I think from stress, and like I'm his daughter, so like I have those genes, and like you know, it's not good to stress out all the time. Have a better time if you just relax a little bit. And I'm saying this like I believe it, but I have to really remind myself of it all the time.
I've gotten the impression from your latest the record, that stress or dealing with stress or delving into stress, that's a source of inspiration on the record or something you're trying to cope with?
Yeah, I think to do something with that energy that doesn't involve being mean to people or being
mean to people.
Well, I just notice how much like conflict just comes from the fact that people are stressed, and instead of like talking about it, they just bottle it up, and then they get really raged out.
Like interpersonal group dynamic kind of stuff. You're not
Yeah.
talking about like these days, stress comes, a lot of it I feel like if you're an engaged internet person,
Yeah.
like if you're on the,
I
if you're
like
on
that.
if you're an engaged internet person and you are on,
An EIP.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. and you're on and you're on all the platforms. A lot of the vitriol or not even necessarily, it's not, vitriol is one aspect of it, but just a lot of the feedback you get is this external stranger, someone you vaguely know on Facebook or someone you vaguely know on Twitter is offering their opinion on you. And that, if you're not careful, it can ruin or lift your day.
I know.
And it's sort of nothing. It sort of should be nothing.
It should be, yeah, but it is powerful, like you said.
Is that something that affects you? Like just being...
Not
I can't tell how engaged you are on
really. I mean, I am, but I'm not. There's just this part of me, like I have like all sorts of really spazzy things that go through my head that I really want to like go on my Twitter and then I'm just like, no, it's just not me.
Spazzy? Like, what do you mean?
Just like what you described, seeing somebody say something that's like really pisses me off.
About you?
No,
Oh,
just
about anything. Yeah.
anything or everything. And it's just not me. I really think that I don't know. I feel this pressure to engage more, and that by being silent on certain things, I'm like not participating or I don't care. And it's not that at all. I care a lot, but it's a weird format for me, and I just don't feel. I feel really uncomfortable with it. I think a lot of people. It's not like uncommon. It's just not me. I don't know. I can't. I'm not concise. Like I ramble, having little snippets and like really digging in there with a little scissor comment. It's just not me.
I'm not good at it either. Like I can't, I'm mostly now like I try to do the odd dad joke. But mostly I'm retweeting people who are clearly good at it. Mm-hmm. And then that's my contribution. And I feel bad that I'm not as good as them. Because I'm like, I think I have thoughts.
Yeah.
I have a show. I should be able to express myself the way all these other people are. But then a lot of the things I'm engaged with, I don't know about you, but I'm primarily engaged with American politics, it seems, even more so right now than Canadian politics. I mean, I try to stay engaged with everything, but it's like, who am I? I'm a guy in Canada talking about American politics all the time.
Yeah, I think similarly, where it's like I think it's a good idea to maybe pass the mic.
Yeah.
So, like my insights. I mean, I certainly have insights, but like, yeah, I think other people can put it better.
So we segued, or we went on a tangent because you were talking about stress between people, and I kind of brought in this whole the social media stress. But you're talking about kind of social stress or group dynamic
I think
stress?
my short answer, because you were just talking about like stress and the last record, and I think that like making music over the past 5 years has really become, I mean, it's always been an escape for me.
It is.
But definitely just my way of, using this energy that like, I think if it can get turned into like things that are negative, and I like to be by myself, and doing music and production is a pretty good excuse to like squirrel yourself away. And
You're a loner?
I mean, I'm not. It's like I'm a selective loner. You know what I mean? I just
You
like
don't seem like
to.
you seem extroverted.
Really?
Well, a little bit. Anytime I've engaged with you, I'm not like, it's going to be hard to
get
get
pry.
Yeah, not to pry. That's a horrible thing to say about me. I don't do that. I'm not a
pry.
No, just to get you to open up a little bit.
Yeah.
But you always seem very open. Like you're friendly and
Thanks.
warmth. There's a warmth, and I feel like you're ready
Thank
to engage with people.
Yeah, no, I like to talk.
Yeah.
I definitely. It's not like I don't like to talk, but yeah, sometimes I just really appreciate that my job is getting. It justifies me spending a lot of my day alone. Yeah, which is nice. But then I can leave and see people if I want to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is it a source of stress, this thing you love? The music?
I mean, Sort of. I always have it in the back of my head that like it could end at any moment, you know, but that's like true of anything.
Why would it end?
I mean, just because music and art in general, I think, are just so fickle, you know?
Or undervalued?
Yeah, I mean, that too, but that, you know, one day things could really be going really great, and then the next day nobody cares, you know? It does happen
That's external.
quickly.
That's external stuff. That's other people's perception of... Okay, sorry. I go through this all the time,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to... Everyone likes
Well,
you.
I can see I hit a little nerve.
Well,
yeah.
I just think that sometimes this happens to me all the time where I have to remind myself why I'm doing the thing I do.
Yeah.
Okay, you make a record or a song. You generally make batches of things, right?
Definitely.
And you'll put them out.
Batches of 9 or 10.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then like you've got an EP that came out recently.
That's right.
That
Yeah.
other people remixed your stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, mostly, right.
Yeah.
So you didn't even have to do anything.
I had to listen. I had to send them the stems
No.
to bounce them.
All I'm saying is you're doing things that maybe take a year or two to come out eventually, right?
Yeah.
And then there's people who are writing articles every day, or they're doing a thing every week. And not when you're doing something so regularly, what I've learned is that all of them are going to take off or resonate with people. And then some of them will, and you kind of know why sometimes. But all of that stuff, that popularity or whatever, shouldn't really impact the practice, like in terms of justifying the practice.
Yeah.
So when you say music is fickle or art is fickle, you're talking about the reception to those things.
Yeah, I guess just the ability to tour. And
Oh, I see.
So
Demand.
sorry, I have like there is this inner dialogue with me because like if I could just be at home and make music and like I could just make money off of what I release, oh my God, that would be
Right.
pretty incredible. But it doesn't work like that.
Unless you're in commercials or something like that.
Yeah,
Or scoring films or things like that.
Sure. I mean, so it's possible, and lots of people do it. But for me, at this point in time, my like livelihood really does rely on people's desire to see me in public.
Right.
So I guess in that way, people losing interest in me would kind of impact.
Yes. Okay. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So sorry, I had a whole inner thought that I
No.
wasn't. But yeah, I think that's why it doesn't stress me out so much, is because of what you said. Like I have a routine, and I don't know what I would do other than music. So I think regardless of people liking the albums, I mean, certainly it's a motivation to have people be positive about it, but I think I would keep making music anyway.
Well, so far, people seem very receptive and positive, right?
It's been great.
Yeah. Like people think you're good.
Thank you.
No, they do, right? All the media people and the fans, they think you're great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But you don't like touring.
No, I do. It's like, I don't know, it's always like you want what you can't have, you know?
Right.
Like when I'm there, I get homesick after a couple weeks, you know?
Yeah.
But when I'm home, I kind of want to leave.
You want to get out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like touring. It's such a special thing and something that not a lot of people get to do, you know? So I definitely appreciate it while I'm doing it. But yeah, it's just a bit lonely. And yeah.
You were just on tour?
I was, yeah.
I mean, you're on tour technically now that you're playing.
Yeah,
You're playing an hour away from your house.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
45 I'm on
minutes.
the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're out of town. But where did you just come from in terms of a larger tour?
It was a European tour that went for the whole month of March and a little bit of April.
The whole month of March and a little bit of April. That's a long time.
Yeah, it was like a month. Yeah. Well, March 8th I left, and then I came back April 3rd.
Right. Okay. And how was that?
It was great. It was really good.
Have you toured Europe before?
I have, yeah, but I went to a bunch of places I'd never been, like the Baltics and the Balkans, and yeah, I mean, like Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia were really cool.
By yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to play with a drummer, but she is unfortunately not coming to these tours. So yeah, I was solo.
Totally by yourself? No road
Yeah,
person? You were just
no.
you on your own?
Yeah.
What was that like? That's the lonely part.
That was a bit lonely. I don't think I haven't done that since I like went on my first batch of shows like in 2013. So yeah, it was a little funny.
Did you do all the driving?
No, it was all fly-ins.
Oh, you flew, from...
Yeah, it was like, it started in Lisbon and then, yeah, it was like Lisbon, Madrid, Bologna, and then to the Baltic. It was all flying.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like flying almost every day.
Tell me off the top of your head a highlight. I want a tour story highlight because tours often have great. I still to this day, the first real tour I road managed is just chock full of fascinating things to me that I'm still processing.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, it was. Well, I don't want to get into that. I want to hear about yours. I just mean when you go on the road, sometimes it can be a magical thing. Sometimes it can be pretty routine, but sometimes weird stuff happens, interesting stuff happens. Did anything happen on this tour?
In Sofia, Bulgaria, I was there for one extra day, and the promoter, Andre, was like really, really nice guy, and I told him how much I like spas. And in Bulgaria, because it's like in between Turkey and Greece, like they like have a big spa culture there. So like
Spa culture?
Spa culture, yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I'm
not really. I've been to Oslo, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, they have steam rooms there. They have saunas there.
I just remember Oslo being very expensive. The pizza I bought was like $50.
It is expensive.
Yeah.
Norway is
very expensive.
Everything's just like lined with gold.
I don't understand what is going on there. Anyway, I don't know Europe very well, but there's a spa culture. I understand now that you've told me that.
People are just into steam rooms and saunas
Right.
and like cold plunges.
Right, I vaguely knew that. Okay, yeah.
So I told him this, and he was like, "Yeah, well, we should go. Except it's like." It's like gendered. It's like it's always naked too.
Right.
So like
Right.
he got his female friend to come and take me to a spa, and it was this like weird. It had a real like rec center kind of vibe to it, but it was really fun and really nice and a bit
Couldn't you have gone to the
strange.
spa by yourself?
I could have, but he was like
just
wanted to
insisted
be
to make sure.
hospitable,
Right,
you know.
right.
So
Brought you a naked woman.
yeah, but she was so cool.
I'm sure she was.
She was really nice. Yeah, so like we went out for the day and we went to the spa, the ladies' spa, and
Okay.
off the top of my head,
So that was the weirdest and funnest, most interesting thing.
I got to be naked with a stranger in Bulgaria.
In a spa.
Yeah, in
Okay.
the spa.
So it's a magical life you lead, frankly.
It's pretty cool when people are, like normally, it was I casually said it and he took my request pretty
That's nice.
seriously. So nice, yeah.
No, I mean, you are a traveler and the world is falling apart. Did you have a sense of that outside of your relaxing spa day? Did you have a sense of...
I sound like such a shithead.
No, you had one relaxing spa day. The rest of it was hard, grueling fly-ins and fly-outs. Those aren't easy, actually.
Man.
And at some level, don't you actually prefer driving?
Yeah.
Like flying all the time is
Hell
exhausting.
yeah, it is tiring. Yeah.
It's more tiring than driving.
I like driving.
Yeah, you have you have freedom and anyway.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean to. I wasn't making fun of you.
No.
But
I don't.
do you have conversations with the people you're visiting or meeting about the state of things, the state of the world?
People want to talk about it.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're always like, as a Canadian, how do you
as a Canadian.
feel being close to the United States? And yeah, that's usually the segue question.
So what is your perspective on that? How do you answer that question?
I mean, touring America is like one of my favorite things, It's like such a weird place. It's like a cliche thing to say, but it's like kind of got the best and worst aspects. And I like that about it, but I don't know. I mean, it's like I just read things every day that are just such a drag, and I just don't. But I read things here, like I feel like there is this like just weird, just hatred lurking under the surface, even in like Canada,
There is.
I mean, that's like so obvious. Obviously,
There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
This is when people ask me, like, I mean, it's so much more like in your face and blatant, and yeah, it's like I'm not comparing Canada and the U.S. I mean,
Sure.
But
that's fascinating that you go to Europe and people want to know your perspective as a Canadian on a thing that you're not even part of.
They're all like, "Oh, you have that handsome, really nice."
Oh, Trudeau.
Yeah.
Do you ever splash a cold handful of spa water in their faces about about the Trudeau? Because I've been doing that a little bit lately.
Yeah,
people are like, "Oh, you've got," because comparably, obviously, on some level, all levels, Trudeau is preferable to someone like Trump, but at the same time, he is not proven to be. I'm sorry, I don't want to get.
No, I agree. He says one thing and then does others, and I think he.
But he is handsome.
Yeah, and he can balance babies in the palm of his hands.
Yeah.
So.
He's like Jesus. He's basically.
I don't know if you do that with your.
No. I would never balance my daughter with one hand. That would be weird. Yeah. So people want to ask your opinion of these things.
Definitely.
And do you think that's because I was just having a conversation with who was it? I think it was Meg from U.S. Girls yesterday. Actually, we were just talking about.
Oh, she must get weird questions.
Do you think so?
Well, about her name, and I don't know.
Her name? Oh, U.S. Girls.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I never. Do you know Meg?
No.
She's very interesting and thoughtful and outspoken, and she sends me these very lengthy emails that I try to unpack, and they're very interesting. And we kind of had this discussion about how she has come to the conclusion that she's kind of talking to herself in an email, but she sends them to me.
Cool.
or people, well, not just me, but she just will like write she'll just try to process something that's bothering her in the course of an email. But I was talking, I think it was to her. I'm pretty sure I hope I didn't just drop her name for no reason, but just this notion of asking creative and artistic people their thoughts about the state of the world or politics.
Yeah.
Some people think, what's the point? Some musicians have even said, this isn't my purview. Like you're asking me something that's way above my pay grade or whatever, But at the same time, I feel like you're being asked because people see, because I think of you as an observant songwriter as well.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not trying to put pressure on you here. I think of you as someone, as a songwriter, I think and as an observant one, I think you're viewing human behavior from a particularly interesting lens. So I think maybe that's certainly why I ask these questions of people like yourself, and I'm sure that's why people, when you're visiting a town, want to size you up a little bit and figure out what's on your mind,
Yeah.
Do you find that stressful? Or
I mean, it is. It's like I had this one experience where like I did this interview and I think she had her narrative before we spoke, and I don't regret what I said, but it was just taken out of context a little bit. Like she asked me like, what do you think about being a woman in the music industry?
Right.
And that's like a very common question. And I started out my sentence by saying, I don't really like being asked just because I am a woman in electronic music that like I'm going to have the answer to this question. But I think that the world is largely misogynistic, and so is the music industry. And then like, a couple weeks later, it was like, Jessy Lanza says the music industry is misogynistic. And that was like the little catch. And I mean, all you have to do is say something like that to just see how nuts people are about. You really can see how misogynistic the world actually is once you actually say something like that.
But the subtext of that question, I think, from journalists is that they are acknowledging that. They don't, like my friend April Lermo. Do you know April from Hooded Fang and Phaedra?
I know that band, but I don't know.
She's been making the point a lot lately that men aren't asked this question the same way. They're not asked about not only their place in an artistic realm, but also what they're doing to actually make that space more inclusive for people.
Yeah.
It's a huge double standard. Like, men aren't asked, what's it like being a man in the music industry. What's it
No.
like being a white man in the music industry who has the power to make change? Like, you have the most power as a white man to make it an inclusive space for people who are racialized or underrepresented or
Yeah.
or gay or whatever. Like, and I think that's a really good, astute point.
Yeah.
So the question, it sounds like you were defensive and offended by the question.
Yeah, that is a good way to put it. I mean, I didn't want to not say anything, but I kind of, the whole thing just left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, you know? I'm always thinking about like what portion of this is going to make it into
A print
this
piece
article.
or something? Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And I'm always thinking about that, like, because it's through the filter of this person, and it's like, you know, not every journalist is writing for like the New Yorker, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of trust to,
Yeah.
because things can be misquoted or misconstrued, and it's like, you know, it's really important, and I just don't want to be taken out of context. So yeah, I am always a little bit weary about it, but oh man, these people are just so hateful. It's wild. Not necessarily like that I'm encountering on a day-to-day basis, but it's a real pit out there.
Well, they want to push back when you speak out. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure.
There's just this wave of like, you said a thing that counters our narrative or the narrative we've been working on for hundreds and hundreds of years, and that's why you get pushback.
Yeah. I mean, I know I was thinking about like comment sections, you know. All you need to do is just take a gander through one of those, and it gets really quite explicit.
Yeah, the other thing I've encountered numerous times, and definitely in conversations with someone like April, is this notion of like, I'm a person. People are always asking me what it's like to be a woman in a band or a woman making music, but I'm a person. Like, I don't only have to talk about. We all don't only have to define what I do because I'm a woman.
Yeah, I know, that's like such a good point, because it really is just about being treated with respect, just as anybody would, and that nobody is expecting one thing or another of you because of how you look.
I feel like,
so that's
sorry.
No, it's just, the expectation to what you can and can't do is just sometimes it's like, just, you can like, it's palpable. Like you can just feel it when you walk into a venue that like people size you up, and you know, they're like, oh, this is going to be, you know, I've had people be like, what, are you in some kind of girly band or something?
Really?
Yeah. Or when people just make, you know, it's like, anyways, it is totally like what you said, April said. It's like, I'm a person, and I just want you to treat me like you would anybody, and just with respect. Yeah.
Well, there's probably a ton of stuff we could go and talk about, but I know that you know, we're here kind of backstage, and you got a show to play, so I want to let you go. But before I do you have, what are you working on? Are you working on something? You seem like you're always working on something.
I am working on something. Yeah, Jeremy and I have started some new songs, so we'll see.
They're not in your set yet.
No, not tonight, but.
Are you someone that will start to infuse your set with something you've just started working on or just finished? Or do you wait till the record's out?
No, I mean, no, I've played stuff that's been not on the record, but sometimes it's bad when you play it before, because if like the crowd doesn't react the way you want them to, then I think you can start questioning whether it should go on the record at all.
Don't you find that crowds don't react to things? I find that people don't react to things they're completely unfamiliar with.
Totally, that's 100%.
It doesn't necessarily. You could be in front of your most loyal fan base, and you say, "Here's a new song." If you introduce it that way, people are going to be like, "I'm just going to listen to this. I'm not going to. I may not gesticulate. I'm just going to. This isn't." Every old song is a nostalgia trigger. Well, and so you can kind of go on autopilot as a listener, because you're like, I know where this is going, and I'm just going to get into it.
To that point, I think Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen didn't get popular until it was in Shrek. So that's
right. That's true. You're absolutely right. Yeah, there's always something.
So I'm just going to remember that when I try and do some of the new stuff.
So you're working on new stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
touring, you've got lots more touring to do?
Yeah, there's some festivals in Europe, and then I think by August, I think that's going to be it for a little bit. Yeah, and just focus on writing.
Back to your lonesome?
Yeah, just back to the solo. Back to spending most of my day.
Are you still living with
alone.
Judy?
What's that?
Are you still living with your mom?
No. I'm living with my sister right now, actually.
I'm just moving from family member to family
Yeah,
member?
I know, just who will take me? I've just been away so much, and I moved out of my other house, and I'm in an in-between place.
Are you still in Hamilton?
I am.
How's Hamilton? I keep hearing conflicting things.
It's fun.
Okay.
It's like...
But everyone is leaving.
It's getting expensive.
Yes. You know why? Because people from the city of Toronto, for one, are being displaced. They are. They can't afford.
They're being pushed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
And that makes a market like it's happening here in Guelph.
Really?
Oh yeah, people are paying like 100, 200 grand over asking for houses in our city.
I guess it is pretty close to Toronto.
Yeah, and they come and they leave. They leave Toronto and they move here, and then they. My thing, and I've said this before on the show. They'll move in for like a year and a half, and then they'll sell the house again for
like flip it.
Kind of flip it. They don't do anything to it. I've watched them. They don't do anything to their house. They just sit there and then they move
just
away.
Let the market value go up.
But then the whole market changes because of all this. No one can afford to live mostly in Toronto. So that's what I keep hearing about Hamilton. It's
that's totally a
it's
thing.
getting really expensive.
It is getting expensive. Yeah, but I mean, it's all right.
Okay.
It's all right.
Do you ever go to Granddad's Donuts?
Hell yeah.
That's my favorite place in the world.
It's really good.
It's a donut time machine.
Jeremy loves Granddad's Donuts. If you ever talk to him
about Granddad's Donuts,
if you bring up Granddad's, oh man, he'll light up.
It's the greatest. What's your favorite donut?
The Ghostbuster.
What's that one?
It's like the white coconut on the outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I like a good old-fashioned like honey dip.
Yeah, the honey dips are good. I'm a walnut crunch and orange twist.
Oh, the orange twists are good.
Do you know anything about what's going on over there? Is there like a former Tim Hortons baker or something? Because they took the original the thing that's blowing my mind and anyone I tell to go there, they're like, what the hell? Because they actually make the old-fashioned Tim Hortons donuts exactly the way they used to make them.
I don't know. I mean, I know Tim Hortons really... They changed when they started bringing it. Awful. They don't bake it there anymore. I think they just like bring it all in. It's bad. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the story is, but Granddad's.
You don't know the story about Granddad's Donuts? You live in Hamilton. I thought you would have the inside scoop.
Yeah. No, I mean I've been going there for a really long time.
Interesting clientele. Interesting vibe in there.
Totally. It's a special place.
It's super special. I love Granddad's Donuts.
It is like a capsule of time.
Can you write a song based on one of the donuts or Granddad's Donuts?
Do you think there is a Granddad? Was there a Granddad?
See, this is the backstory. Can you do some research on this and then and I want a song. I'm very demanding right now, but if you can come out somehow like Walnut Crunch a song. What? That doesn't make any sense. I'm just hungry now.
No, in two years, yeah.
2 years?
Well, I don't know when the next time we're going to talk is. 6, yeah.
Oh, because it's been 2 years since we've spoken?
Months.
We haven't talked in a while. I suppose that's true.
I can come up with something in that time.
Really? You're going to do this for me just because I asked? And all the Granddad's Donut fans?
I mean...
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'll think about it. I'll put something on the back burner, you know?
All right, that's nice of you. Is there a song from your record or the remix thing? Is there something we should play right now for people to hear?
From the album, I think Could Be You would be a really nice song to play.
Why did that come to mind?
I think that's my favorite song on the record. And at first I thought maybe you could play DJ Tay's remix of it, but I think I want the original. I don't know, you can choose. The remix is great. The original from the record I think is, I'm pretty proud of that song.
Is it inspired by anything in particular?
Having lots of boyfriends.
Oh. Do you have boyfriends, lots of boyfriends?
Oh yeah.
Are you dating someone now? Mm-hmm. Oh, is that going well?
Yeah, it's going great. No, it is.
I don't mean to pry. I'm just
No.
asking. No.
Yeah.
But you okay. So this is Could Be You. It's about having lots of boyfriends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jessy, this was very fun.
Thank you.
It was
fun.
It was nice to connect with you again, and I wish you the best of luck with everything.
Thank you.
From her critically acclaimed 2016 album, Oh No, that was Jessy Lanza with Could Be You. Thank you, Jessy. Thank you for being on this program. I had a good time. I don't get the impression that Jessy opens up too much like that, so I appreciate that time with her, and it was nice meeting her mom again. And man, did you hear the reverb in the interview? Because of the church basement? That was very surprising. I was not expecting that when I started putting this thing together, but wow. Hopefully that wasn't weird for you. Did it feel religious? I hope you're okay. This is the 328th episode of the Creative Control podcast, which is available on all of your finer podcast networks, platforms, iTunes, Audio Boom, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Overcast, everything. It's really everywhere. And if you are missing episodes and want to figure out how this thing started, go to vishkhanna.com. Every single episode is there in some form or another for you to download or stream. So listen to the show at vishkhanna.com. Also, visit patreon.com/creative control to make a flexible monthly donation to the program and view some t-shirts that I will offer you in exchange for your donation. If you'd like a t-shirt, just send me a note. I will send you what I have in terms of sizes and colors and shapes and whatnot, and I will send you a t-shirt. It's just that simple. Patreon.com/creative control. Also, you can like our Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter @VishCreative. And a version of the show airs every Wednesday at noon Eastern Time around the world at cfru.ca. Or if you're in the area, CFRU 93.3 FM in Guelph. If you're in Hamilton and you go to 93.3 FM, you will be listening to CFMU, the McMaster station. So Jesse's from Hamilton. You could be listening to this from Hamilton. Just know, same dial, 93.3 FM. There's some snow in between the two cities. There'll be some static there, so just be careful. This episode would not be possible without our sponsors, Pizza Trocadero in Guelph. You can call them for pickup or delivery at 519-829-2444 or check them out at trocaderoguelph.ca. I just had some tonight. I had the margarita. It was beautiful, amazing. Also, The Bookshelf, an independently owned bookstore, bar, music venue, movie theater, and restaurant located at 41 Quebec Street in Guelph. Learn more about them at bookshelf.ca. I was just there to use the bathroom. Unbelievable. And for the finest coffee anywhere, try Planet Bean, freshly roasted, fair trade certified organic coffee. I was just there with my wife, and we had coffee. It was hot and caffeinated. Everything you'd want in a cup of coffee. For more information, visit planetbeancoffee.com. That's the end of this episode, and again, subscribe to the show where you listen to it, download it, share it, rate it, review it, keep it going. Tell your friends about the show, and tell me what you think about the show too, because I can take it. All right, that's it for me. Goodbye for now.